Good morning. It is 9 a.m. I am calling to order the Board of Directors meeting for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments for Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, where you just want to spend it is with all your friends, huh? All right. There are some Valentine-ish things over there, so help yourself. All righty. Let's go ahead, Andy, and establish a quorum, please.
Okay, yes, we need 7 total. I see 6 in the room, and I think we have a couple members online, but would suggest we go around the room and do self-introductions, and then Jared can help with introductions of board members online.
Okay, I have Lynette Crow Iverson online, so that makes 7.
That makes 7. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we need. Okay, all right.
All right.
Angie Gunning, PPACG.
Mitch LaKine, Mayor of Monument.
John Graham, Mayor, City Manitou Springs.
Kelly Case, Mayor Pro Tem, Woodland Park.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls.
Lake.
John Hall with CDOT, Shane and Commissioner Parsons are up in commission this week.
Jeff Bond representing Space Base Delta One, Peterson, Schriever, Cheyenne Mountain.
Is Cheryl?
Cheryl Richards, Office Manager for PPACG.
And we have Jared.
And off to the side, intentionally off camera, Jared Verner, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Public Information Officer.
Okay, and online for the board, if you can unmute when I say your name, we have Lynette Crow Iverson.
Here.
Okay, and then other electeds online, we have Dr. Dieter Duncan
Good morning.
and Amy Mitchell. All right, well, sometimes when you're driving, we don't want you to find that mute button, right? Or whatever you're doing. Okay, so as other people come in, Andy, you shouldn't have sent the email out about the photo today. You scared everybody off, huh? Yeah. All right, well, we'll try it again after a few people maybe get a few minutes to get here. So our next agenda item is the agenda approval, item number 2. What would the board like to do with that?
Mayor Dixon, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for agenda approval. Any deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and we've just been joined by Commissioner Vanderwerth. Can you join me up here? There is like no one up here with me. My goodness. I know. That takes us on to item 3, introductions, public comments, and presentation. Item A, Melissa Martz has been here 5 years. Oh my goodness. Come on down, Melissa. Time is.
And she's going to be joined by Sherry Hoffman, our HR specialist, generalist, and Jody Barker, our AAA director.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's my pleasure as your AAA director to just congratulate Melissa Martz for her 5 years of service here at the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. She has been an integral part in building out our programs as program development supervisor. That it's right there in her title, but it's so much more than that. She carries a passion for the older adults of our region, and that plays out in her day to day. And so we're very happy to have her as a member of our staff. She came in February of 2019, just a few months before I did. I had the opportunity as a regional advisory council member to participate with her in the 4-year plan process at that time. And last year, when it was time to do it all over again, she took the head of that and really made amazing strides in what our 4-year plan has looked like from that time to this, and coordinating with volunteers in our communities across the region. And it's just made an exemplary package of 4-year planning and building into our processes. So very, very pleased that she is a part of our AAA staff. So let's hand that over to Sherry, and congratulations with the certificate and binder for her 5 years of service. So let's step up here and have a photo.
Do I dare hold this up?
Yeah, there you go. In here. Cool.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Melissa, and thank you for all your hard work. Thank you. All right, that takes us on to item B, public comments. Public comments can be made before or during the meeting. Public comments during the meeting is limited to 3 minutes and can be done at the meeting location or remotely by using the posted Microsoft Teams link. Individuals are encouraged to notify the meeting organizer at ppacg@ppacg.org before the meeting or via email for distribution to the committee members. Do we have anybody in the room for public comments? Seeing none, do we have anybody online?
Madam Chair, I'll ask anyone who's online who'd like to make public comment, please use the raise hand function and let us know. In the meantime, I'll let you know we did not receive any advance requests and we did not receive any written submitted public comment. And I see no hands going up online.
Okay, and I'd like to welcome Councilmember Avila is here now. Thank you. All righty. So that takes us on to item C, military installation reports. Mr. Bond.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. Happy Valentine's Day to all. I have three items to brief. On January 25th, we had the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation visit Peterson, Schriever, and get a briefing of Cheyenne Mountain. We spent the day with three of their folks, and we wanted to give thanks to Pikes Peak Area Council of Government for their role in this, the outbrief and the other engagements that you did. Very important organization, and we were happy to host them for a day. On the 8th of February, we had Mayor Yemi come out and visit Cheyenne Mountain. Him and his staff received an orientation and got to speak about some of the challenges and opportunities that we have at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station or Space Force Station. Finally, the State of the Bases address is slated for March 8th from 1 to 3 p.m. out at Peterson Space Force Base at the hub. Invitations have been sent out. If any of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government Board of Director members did not receive an invitation, please get with me later or send me a note and I'll make sure that you receive your invitation. Subject to questions, that's all I have to brief.
I have a note for you. Thank you. Just 1 second. I'm trying to write a note and talk and it doesn't work well, so. Thank you. Okay, and thank you very much. Busy. We have any other military partners online? Okay, if they come in, we can always bring that back up. And I want to notice we've been joined by Councilmember Donaldson, Colorado Springs, and Commissioner Williams online. All righty. Okay, and that takes us on to consent items. I'm going to give everybody a heads up. After we do consent, we will be doing the photo. So Andy, you're going to have us line up here by the emblem. Is that it? Okay. All righty, so we'll take a small break right after we do the consent items. I was just trying to give everybody a little bit more time to maybe get here this morning. So, all righty. So that takes us to item 4, consent items. These items will be acted upon as a whole unless they are called up for discussion by a board member or a citizen wishing to address the board. We have consent items A, B, C, and D. What would the board like to do?
I move to approve the consent item.
I'll second John Graham.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the consent items. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Okay, we will be taking a short recess here. And so we will, for maybe 5 minutes at the most, right? Everybody hopefully can get up here real quick and take a photo. So
Seattle, today. So it's been like 3 days. Yeah, just see a lot of sideways. When you see stuff. Will you stay? There you go. Provide the weather about it. Over to the beach. Let's be 2 races about 8:20. You have all this underground bills. Monday, Tuesday, good. So I think I'm gonna that kind of slate here. About 8 weeks. I'm committing to taking 3-day weekends for the 8 weeks. Years, we're gonna be 3 days. 4 years.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting back to order. That takes us on to action items. Item 5A, annual CDOT safety target setting. Danelle Miller.
Good
Good morning, Danelle.
Thank you for having me. So this item was brought to you as an informational item last month, and today we're just following up with that action item. So there's several performance measures that are required by the Code of Federal Regulations, and this item is the safety target, which is set annually by each state Department of Transportation. And then we, PPACG, as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, we're required to either support that state target or develop our own. Our Transportation Advisory Committee and our Community Advisory Committee have recommended that we support the CDOT targets for this year. During the previous board meeting and workshop, there was a question regarding the jump in crashes between 2017 and 2018. And David Swanka from CDOT is online today to address that question, and then we can take any other questions that the board might have.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Swanka.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm David Swanka. I'm with CDOT. I'm with their headquarters, Traffic and Safety Engineering Services Branch, and the group that works on setting these performance measures every year. And regarding the question with the increase of serious injuries from 2017 to 2018, I looked into that recently, and the majority of that increase was mostly roadway departure crashes. So vehicles going off-road, overturning, colliding with embankments, signage, culverts, whatever. It's quite unusual because that elevation was just kind of stood out for that year. No other categories of crashes like intersections or intersection related or pedestrians or bicycles really went up that year. It's just roadway departures. And as far as the reason why those increased that year, it's hard to say because all the proportionalities of, how many crashes occurred due to speeding or impairment or weather was about the same prior to that year and the year after. It's just that the frequency of those crashes increased that year. There was an elevation in drivers asleep at the wheel, but really it was just that increase in that specific category and not any others. So hopefully that answers that question. Certainly if there's a follow-up, I'd be happy to discuss it.
You have a question?
Okay, we do have a question here.
Yes, thank you very much. This is Commissioner Stan Vanderwerf. And if I'm looking at the right one, we're on 5A, is that
Yes.
correct? So, and I'm looking at the resolution, and I might want to make a recommendation on just a very minor word change on the resolution. Because if you look at the whereas on page 32, it says the following safety targets, and then it says number of fatalities. It almost sounds like our goal is 719 fatalities. I think it should probably say the following not to exceed safety targets or something that says we want to try to not exceed these numbers. So my first reaction to the words was these are goals that we want to try to attain based on the way the words are written. And it might sound a little silly and maybe it's obvious, but I think maybe we need to make a word change or two.
Certainly, we can make that adjustment. Well, we can say, set the following not to exceed the safety targets.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That will work. If I
yes.
might, if I might, Commissioner, we had a very similar conversation with the TAC committee. They were like, you call them targets, which makes it sound like State Patrol goes out and starts killing people at the end of the year to make the target. And we're like, no, that's not it at all. And they said, maybe we should have them be safety trends, safety trends. Can we rename it? So we ran it all the way up to FHWA and they said, no, it has to be called this. This is very specific. These are not aspirational goals. These are statistical goals. You have to maintain this name. So we've actually, you're not alone. TAC had the same idea. We thought it was a good idea. We ran it up the chain. That being said, there is a notice of proposed rulemaking out to actually change the name. So hopefully next year, when we do this, we'll actually have something a little more palatable as far as language goes, targets versus trends. But for now, we're sort of locked into this. But
Well, could we possibly insert between the word following and safety, not to exceed?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can do that.
I
Okay,
think that's a good suggestion.
all right.
So when we come to it, you're going to make the motion.
Apparently, yes.
Okay. Just to make sure that it gets amended.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Any other questions about the safety targets?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could just
Yes.
kind of along the lines of that first question about the numbers, then there's this, on that same chart, Colorado serious injuries, there's this big jump from 2020 to 2021, going from below 2,900 to over 3,670. And then it keeps going up. I imagine, well, I'd like to hear, I have an idea why that was, but could we just have a response to that?
Sure. And really everything past 2020 was pandemic influenced to some degree. Certainly there was a change in enforcement during that time period. There was less enforcement. So I know in the recent years that has been the focus of like the Colorado State Patrol and probably other law enforcement agencies to bring that back to try to help curb what we're seeing right now with the resulting increase in fatalities and serious injuries past that 2020 date.
And that's
this-
why we're
yeah.
actually, at the end of this meeting, we're going to take a break and then we're going to come back and do a traffic safety workshop and hopefully address a lot of those questions and concerns on how it's being addressed. But right now we just need to adopt these targets.
Madam Chair, I hear the plea in your tone of voice, so I will stop my questions.
I didn't want to make it that obvious. Any other, Mayor, I think Mayor Havenar, your light is on. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right. Are there any further questions or comments? And Dave, you can have the floor at the next meeting. How's that? Okay. All right. Seeing none, what would, Yola, did you have something? Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. All right. Seeing none, what would the board like to do with this? I know nobody wants to do it. Go ahead.
I'd be willing to make a motion.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the item 5A resolution as set forth in the package with one notable exception on the fifth whereas between the word following and safety to insert the words not to exceed.
Okay. We have a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for that resolution as amended by sorry, I almost demoted you there. Commissioner Vanderwerth, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That takes us on to item B, legislative update, Jared Werner.
Good morning, everyone. Jared Werner, Public Information Officer here at PPACG. So as a month ago, this meeting last month was the first day of the session. Since then, it has been an actively A very busy session, to say the least. Legislative Committee has been meeting weekly, with the exception of one break for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and has reviewed 62 bills and has adopted positions on 7 different bills, either support, amend, or oppose, and is monitoring an additional 23. What we're looking for today is essentially consent from the board that these are the positions as motioned out of the legislative committee. Happy to go into any other detail, but everything is detailed in the memo as well as our tracking sheet for anyone who has questions.
Okay, and we do have one of the co-chairs of the legislative committee here, so Mayor Dixon.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed the bills at length. I think these are probably pretty good positions to go forward with. And again, we're putting it to the body to see if we can obtain concurrence.
Okay, so the recommendation of the committee is that we accept the report?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, do we have any questions from anybody looking it over? I am, but I can move it a little closer. Is that better? Okay,
I do have one question here.
yes.
The amending bill, the bill that PPACG is recommending amendment to equal access to public meetings. What amendment are we asking for on that?
So we're still nailing down what those amendments actually look like. We have asked our lobbying team to talk to the bill sponsors and see what they are amendable to essentially. Is it something that they are flexible on, or is it something that they're getting a clear direction from someone else on?
Okay.
But yeah, we have several concerns. Not from the intent of the bill. I think we all agree that it's good to have our meetings as accessible as possible. But there is an implementation concern that we are trying to make sure we address and make sure we understand the intent.
I know last year when this was out, Colorado Springs took an opposed position and pretty strongly opposed it because of the arduous requirements for even meetings like the CAC and everything else. You would have to have it televised. If there were documents introduced at the meeting, they would have to be immediately available online, and it just seemed undoable to local governments. So I would just advise caution with that one. So thanks.
Councilmember Avila?
Speaking of accessible, could you read those 7 items and say whether we oppose or support or monitor?
I certainly can. So we are supporting 5 bills right now. House Bill 24-1166, expand homestead exemptions. House Bill 24-1211, state funding for senior services contingency fund. Senate Bill 2440, state funding for senior services. Senate Bill 24-106, right to remedy construction defects, and Senate Bill 24-1112, construction defect action procedures. Those are all bills that we are supporting. We are proposing to amend one bill. Again, we haven't detailed the amendments that we would like so far, but that is House Bill 24-1168, equal access to public meetings. And right now we are opposing one bill, House Bill 24-1152, accessory dwelling units. Yep, the ADUs.
Councilmember Avila, could you turn your mic on so we can get it for the people online? Thank you.
Why are we opposing that?
So there are several issues that was addressed in the legislative committee, and others feel free to chime in. The concern with ADUs is that it overrides local control for housing and zoning requirements. I know Colorado Springs went through a very comprehensive planning process not too long ago and included ADUs as part of that process. Some of the concern from the planning side, which PPACG has a heavy role in, is on transportation impacts, because all of a sudden if you have a lot more cars traveling on residential roads, that impacts just the transportation network in general. And then wastewater, which is a big part of our side. Pipes are laid for a certain expectation of density, and all of a sudden if that density goes up, that completely changes what we have to look at for wastewater management. Happy for others to chime in. I see.
Yeah.
Mayor Dixon and
In
then Mayor
addition,
Graham.
I believe that bill specifically limited parking. So a local municipality couldn't enforce any additional parking requirements. In other words, Normally, if you have 2 spaces per residence, if you're adding an ADU, you're basically allowing them to park on the street. That is a problem in a lot of areas. I lived in an area that had accessory dwelling units, and parking was a big issue. In mountain communities, we have no room. We just have no room. And if we're plopping more people in without allowing the local municipality to address parking and infrastructure, we got big problems.
Mayor Graham?
Yes, thank you. To echo somewhat Mayor Dixon's sentiments, in Manitou, and our infrastructure is in many cases old. We're built on hillsides. In the 1920s, people built extra units to maximize their summer revenue. So we already have ADUs. The consequence of that is we have essentially no parking. A good deal of our city staff's time is spent resolving parking issues. If we, I mean, we're saturated at this point in a lot of our neighborhoods. We have, I mean, and imagine what it's like to have a young woman come into your city council meeting and she's telling you that she has to park 2 blocks away, carry groceries and 2 kids to her home because she can't find parking. This is enormously frustrating and debilitating for the community. Some of our pipes go back to the early 1900s. You put additional load on that, and we're not going to have housing units. The whole system is going to fail, and the existing homes are going to be uninhabitable. That's a concern that I have. Try to figure out fire flows if you're going to put more houses in and tap into existing lines, which are already at the limit of where they should be. And to take away local control, this is egregious. Last year we approved a new land use code, which factors in a lot of the historical things that we have in Manitou. I mean, it's based on reality. It's what we have. To take this away is it's unconscionable. So I very much oppose this, especially having it shoved down our throats. Thank you.
Mayor LaKine?
Yeah, if I can switch back to 1168 and what Council Member Donaldson had brought up. While I could appreciate the requirement of technologies for equal access to public meetings, the town of Monument, and if you don't mind, the city of Fountain, with our joint lobbyists, we've come out with a strong oppose to this because of what it will do to especially smaller municipalities, the staffing requirements, having to upgrade their technology, in their facilities. So I think amending it, I don't know exactly what the full amendment was that you were asking, but I would highly recommend opposing this just because it, once again, takes away local control and puts a huge amount of administrative and financial costs to those municipalities to host all of those meetings online.
Yeah. And Jared, in my notes, I did actually have oppose unless amended.
I'm sorry. Yes, yes.
Yep.
I failed to update that, but yes, we are trying to look for amendments. But again, if not, then Committee Co-Chair Dixon is correct. Yeah, we are looking at opposing.
And I think one of the points was we're all struggling right now with the web accessibility requirement that is on and trying to figure out how to do that and afford it. And we want to make sure when things are done, they're done right and they're done well. And putting too many requirements on too quickly, you end up not doing anything well. And we don't want that. We want things done the right way. And I think we're all trying to we're all moving forward on accomplishing those things. But we just have to look at what reality is. And sometimes some of the things are asking, the technology is not available or affordable yet. But we're all doing the best we can. And so those are the positions. And it does not have to be unanimous. In fact, I've had a couple of legislatures tell me over the years that if it's not unanimous, that's okay. They would actually like to know why not, what some of the reasonings were. So I think if you're not comfortable with voting for something, that's great. And it gives you a chance to reach out and state your opinion a little bit more strongly. So Mayor Dixon.
Yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and add something that was previously stated. We did, the committee actually understands the concept. And so we didn't really, at least through the telecons we had. We really didn't want to come out with a hard oppose because we understand, we get the concept. It's just this bill is so restrictive. It'll bankrupt my little town of Green Mountain Falls within probably within 5 years. Because just think of trying to get a land use architectural drawing and trying to get that converted. I don't even know how to do it. And I've actually done the task in my previous life with the Federal Aviation Administration, where I had to go in and update the documents so they could be used by the readers.
And you're addressing the requirement that anything used in a meeting has to be online and accessible
Yes.
a minimum of 24 hours in advance.
It's the combination of this bill and our existing accessibility bill or requirement that we're trying to deal with. Put the two together and we're bankrupt.
That's just reality.
That's all there
Okay,
is to
thank
it.
you. Councilmember, are you comfortable that, your question was at least addressed? You may not agree with it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was addressed and not that I'm not sympathetic to what's going on in Monument. I'm just was wondering about an amendment there too. But I think I need to delve into this further.
Okay.
So I'm not able to support the senior and the homestead, yeah, but the more controversial things, I'm not there.
Would you like to make a motion to, can we do two separate motions? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner. Okay, sorry. We have one more comment online. Okay, we have a hand. Commissioner Stone.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I apologize for being late. I was finishing up an opioid policy council meeting. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, you're fine.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that I have reached out to the sponsor of this bill. As I have concerns that go beyond just my county. I mean, we have lots of little small local water district boards and others that, even though they're not certainly not under the direct supervision of the county, I understand the impact this would have on special districts, whether those be library districts or water districts. As Mayor Dixon said, this is a really heavy lift. Teller County, we're doing really well on the previous accessibility bill. We're working hard on it. It is expensive and not easy to put the burden on the county to now be able to provide these services for every single board that we appoint is going to be, I think, problematic to our volunteers in some ways, because it's going to require that they move their meetings to a facility where we have the technology to do this. But I do have a meeting set up with the sponsor. I do want to relate to him what we would like to see changed. One of my desires on this is to have a floor set, perhaps by budget, that we just say that all public meetings for organizations with a budget smaller than X follow standard open meetings law rules, and that the big ones can do it, and we still have to work out how the small boards work within, because obviously the county budget is large, but a lot of our volunteer boards don't have budgets. But anyway, I do have a meeting with them, and so I wanted to make I don't know if Dan Ublan is on the call, but that'll be either Friday or Tuesday that I meet with that sponsor. But this does need to be dramatically amended because it is a massive unfunded mandate. And I think it's going to hurt our volunteers. That I think we're going to lose a lot of volunteers, and that's hard enough right now to get these filled. If every single public meeting, which would include the advisory boards for this organization.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay, and I do want to note that Commissioner Williams has joined us in the meeting, as well as Commissioner Stone. Is there anybody else on? Oh, you're not over there. You wouldn't know. Okay, yes.
Yes, and I would like to echo everybody's comments that were just made. In El Paso County, there are hundreds of public improvement districts or special districts and so forth and so on. It would be a massive number. We have a few in El Paso County that literally raise only $20,000 a year so they can use a backhoe to clean out a culvert once a year, or build a single street light or two every year. So this is a huge burden for these small public groups that they don't have those resources. They were never designed for that. They were never structured to do that. So it would be a huge burden. A place like El Paso County, we're big enough to do it for things that we control. It's the small ones that are going to be harmed a lot. And I would bet you you know, if the legislature were to ask what this would cost across the state, it would be millions of dollars. And that's yeah, okay, I see thumbs going higher than millions, maybe tens of millions. And that, I bet they haven't even assessed that. Thank you.
One of the meetings I was in, someone, I've been in so many, I can't remember. They made a suggestion that maybe a possible amendment was that the state enacts this first and they figure out how to get it done. And then we see a fiscal note on it from the state to put some reality to this. And then they can figure out how to get these small boards and things covered. So good discussion. We have to pass it, though. It is an action item. So I know Councilmember Avila, you mentioned that you were comfortable, I think, with everything else except this one. So would you want to set the, oh, okay, the ADU and this bill, both two of them, you were not, you would like to oppose, which that's fine. We can do it all in one big swoop. We can separate them out.
Yes.
Each bill, we can pull off a couple. What would you recommend?
I would suggest maybe separating out each bill. It's only 7, or if you know the ones that everybody's on the same page with, move forward with those, but then separate the ones that, you know, there's going to be some dissent.
Okay, so
Comment.
yes.
We seem to go further out of our lane. Our lane is transportation, environment, and seniors, right? And
military.
Oh, well, okay, military, but we want to get into other areas. So to make us really stronger is when we really, come together and vote on those issues. And that's just a comment. I don't want to have a whole discussion on it, but that's,
No, yeah.
it's important that we stay in our lane.
Okay.
And if I could make a comment on that just briefly, I appreciate the comments from Councilwoman Avila, but the 2 examples I gave, the street light and the culvert, are road infrastructure districts.
Yeah, and I know one of the questions we do ask at the beginning of every meeting is this a PPACG issue or not? And sometimes we takes us 10 minutes to decide that. So, all right, so we're gonna take each. How many bills is it?
We have 7.
We have 7. So let's take the bill number, the title, so it's clear, because just stating the number gets very confusing. State the position that is recommended, and then we will have someone make a motion from there. Okay.
That
work?
works. So legislative committee supporting House Bill 241166, expand homestead exemptions.
Okay, so the recommended position on that is support. Okay, do we have a motion, please? We're going to do a motion on each of these. Let's go as fast as we can.
I'll make a motion to approve the support for House Bill 24-1166, the expanded homestead exemption bill.
I'll second. John Graham.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on that. Any deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that one passes.
Jared, I might suggest combine the 2 senior funding bills together.
That
Just
works.
Expect those work. Yeah.
We
Okay.
can definitely do that if that works for the boards. We've got 2 of them directly associated with state funding for senior services, House Bill 241211, state funding for senior services contingency fund, and Senate Bill 2440, state funding for senior services.
And the recommended position on those is
Support.
support. Okay, Councilmember Avila? Oh, you have your light up. Oh, you're just getting ready to vote.
Yeah, I'm getting ready.
Okay, we need a motion. Commissioner
I
Williams?
move to support. I'll make a motion to approve supporting House Bill 24-1211, state funding for senior services contingency fund, and Senate Bill 24-040, state funding for senior services. Commissioner Williams, second.
Here we have a motion and a second. Any deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, please continue.
Alrighty, recommending a support position on Senate Bill 24106, right to remedy construction defects.
Okay. Mayor LaKind, your mic is on. Oh, okay.
I move to support.
Here we have a motion.
Second.
Mayor LaKind, okay, we have a first and a second on that. Any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
You're going to abstain? Okay,
Is that legal?
Oh, yeah.
okay. That takes us on to the next one, please.
A committee recommendation of support for Senate Bill 112, construction defect action procedures.
And this, and support?
Support, yes.
Okay, support position, okay.
Yeah, I move we support Senate Bill 24, 112, construction defect action procedures.
And I'll second.
Any further deliberation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, thank you. That takes us on to the next one.
So next one is committee recommendation of amend House Bill 24, 1168, equal access to public meetings.
And
That
I
is
would,
the amendment.
I would add, what I had in my notes was oppose unless amended.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. So yes,
And
committee
point of order,
recommendation of,
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Stone.
Thank you. I think legally, when we look at the state's requirements for positions taken by, they only limit us to support, oppose, amend, or monitor. So if we're in a position of oppose unless amended, that's truly an amend position. And even though, yes, we're against it if they don't amend it, but if we're asking for them to amend it, then that's the position we need to take.
And this Commissioner Stan, I just have a quick question on what is our amend position? I'm not sure I heard it. What are we recommending gets changed in here?
We have not worked through all that detail yet.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
believe
we have some suggested amendments, if I may, Madam Chair. One was the floor that I talked about earlier to protect these small water districts and wastewater districts and others that may not have the ability to do this. But other ones are to delay implementation. I think Commissioner Williams suggested that one. That it doesn't come into effect till perhaps 2040. Another proposed amendment was to slow roll pieces of this so that we don't have the burden all at once. So we have several things to talk about, but those are the ones that I'm aware of right now.
so I can chime in just from my notes from Monday's meeting. In addition to what Commissioner Stone already mentioned, we already mentioned state implement first to establish procedures and costs. There was a concern about auxiliary aids, which is outlined in the bill summary. If auxiliary aids were to fail, if something technically happens outside of control, does the meeting stop? Does that have to be rescheduled? There was concern about that. In addition to everything else that everyone else has already mentioned. Oh, and then a concern for individuals outside of the jurisdictions to confirm remote. That was a concern for a lot of the, especially smaller committees. If it's just within the jurisdiction, you're talking about people who have a vested interest in what's being discussed. But if you have people from outside the jurisdiction who may just be flooding the meeting for one reason or another, there was concern about being able to limit that, especially for those boards and commissions that only do in-person comment right now.
And this is Commissioner Stan. I just offer maybe another choice, and maybe this is just for the legislative committee to continue to discuss further. But there's possibly a lot of different ways to try to address this. I think in the general sense of trying to have public meetings for all these boards, I think we all want openness and transparency. So I don't think we're objecting to the concept of it. It's the cost that's associated with it. So since I don't believe there is a fiscal note attached to this, and this becomes then an unfunded mandate, our real issue is the unfunded mandate of this bill. So it would seem to me like what might be reasonable I know this might sound a little bit like a cop-out, but there's actually a rationale in this, is to amend this to a study so the state can actually assess what the cost would be. Because they may or may not know that there are tens of thousands of public boards. They may or may not know what the overall cost of this could be. And also in that study, they may, I'll just offer a suggestion, they may find a very cost-effective way to do this if they put some thought into it. Like, could the state, for example, make a hosting site and have the state pay for it, where these little public agencies can just dial in. And it's kind of like a free Zoom or something for these public entities, where it's just easy for them to do it and it doesn't cost them anything, but somebody's investing centrally in the state on something like that. So here's the bottom line is we don't know what might be a good answer on how to meet the intent of the law. So to me, it makes sense to maybe amend and recommend a study to determine the costs and maybe a cost-effective way to implement something to that effect. I'll just make that suggestion.
Okay, but we need to settle on the position though. So I do agree with the point, like who's making what point of this? I believe it was Commissioner Stone made the point that we need to take one of the only positions that they're allowed to report. So I believe that's why you said amend, and I understand oppose, but amend it. So what is,
Can we take a position to amend or oppose?
yeah, but you can't do oppose unless amended. You have to just, that doesn't fit in their check boxes. They have to report. Go
Yes.
ahead, Kelly.
It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm jumping off a cliff here, but it seems to me that there's enough amendments and enough of opposition to this that it sounds like an opposition to this bill would be the thing to do now, because it can always come back. And if we're asking for it to be, the unfunded portion seems to be the hangup. It's not that we don't want to be as open and transparent as we possibly can. But we don't know what this costs. They don't know what this costs. And it seems to me the right position would be to oppose pending further investigation and study. That's just my thought. Yeah.
And Madam Chair, for whatever it's worth, I would agree with an opposed position. My challenge with amend is I don't know what it'll amend to, and it might not actually solve the cost problem if it gets amended.
I think amend keeps you at the table to offer those amendments and keep part of the conversation. I am surprised. I believe CML came out and opposed to this, which really surprised me that they don't normally come out super strong. Oh, I'm sorry. I said, I think CML came out and opposed on this, which I was very surprised at because they normally try to do amend. But I like the amend position. At this point, I don't think maybe we go around and kind of see what the board members are feeling as far as the position. So and this is informal, not a vote. We just need to come to an agreement here. So as I'm going to start on my, and is this, I'm sorry? Is this, Andy, or Eric, you're kind of my Robert's Rules guy. Is this acceptable in Robert's Rules to poll the board to take what position we want to take? Or should we just do a motion?
I don't think specifically that, a straw poll wouldn't hold any weight. But I think if, you just take a motion, if it fails, we may make another motion until you run out of motions.
Okay, we can go that route. Okay, alrighty. Who would like to make a motion on a position to take on House Bill 24-1168? The position recommended, Jared, was amend.
Correct.
Okay, but so it doesn't have to be the motion. So who wants to make the motion? Eric, your hand is up. So does that mean you want to make the motion or your hand is just up?
It's still up, but I will make the motion to take a
Okay.
position of amend.
Okay, we have that. I will second. Okay. So we have a motion. Is there any further deliberation on amend?
Well, this is very brief, just a statement. This seems like there's enough things wrong in this that oppose would make sense. The city of Colorado Springs opposed it last year. I'm not sure if we've taken a stance this year. CML opposes it this year. Is there really a problem that's being solved with this? Are there people clamoring that they don't have enough access to these meetings, or is it again a solution in search of a problem?
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so we have a motion on the floor for amend. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Okay, motion fails. Do we have another motion?
I move that we take an opposed position.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so the motion on the floor now is an opposed position for House Bill 24-1168, the equal access to public meetings, for a lot of very good reasons that were mentioned. Is there any further deliberation? Deliberation? Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I don't know if it's deliberation or what, because I'm not going to support this motion. But, the ADA law came into effect in 1992. And we look at the challenges that the smaller communities have. But this is an effort because when I came into, and even today, it was not accessible to me, right? I have to ask constantly. And the city of Colorado Springs had this huge meeting yesterday, and as all the comments are going on, there's no closed captioning. It took me 4 years to get closed captioning for our meetings, our big meetings. And what I think this bill is trying to do is like, we got to start somewhere. And we haven't done it for 30 years. Let's start somewhere. And yes, I think it does need to be a minute. Sharon, I know you've got something more important to say with Holly, but it would be nice to be listened to. So I'm just going to say, it's not little things. It's huge things. The city hall has become more accessible, but if there's a fire drill and you in a wheelchair, you're in trouble. So there are, saying, oh yeah, we agree with that. We do want things to be more accessible for people. We really do care, but we don't want to put money into it. We don't want an unfunded mandate. We've had 30 years to work on this. And if we would have been working on it incrementally, we'd be there. So I'm not going to support that. Those are my comments.
Thank you. And I apologize, but sometimes there are questions that come up during a meeting that do need to be asked while someone is speaking. So, okay, so we have a motion on the floor of House Bill 241168 to oppose. We have a second. Is there any further deliberation?
I'll just make,
I'm not sure. I think down there, I'm not sure if it's Mayor Graham or, oh, you're just getting ready to vote. Okay, Commissioner Vanderwerf.
yeah, I just want to make one last comment. Down on the bottom, there's some words in there about the severity, the punishment if you fail to comply with this law, if it becomes law. That if you don't have enough money to put this online, or something to that effect, that would be discrimination, and you're subject to lawsuits. And then what we'll do is, if that happens, we'll bankrupt every small municipality, every small public entity. And to me, it just feels like a very negative way to try to address this. When we talk about things, for example, like ADA compliance, we all know how daunting it is to make every place in a community ADA compliant. So the law currently allows for you to take a long time to get to full ADA compliance, and you just put a little bit of budget every year into it. And as long as you're showing progress, that's acceptable to the law. So I think to take this kind of a hard stand that's just tough. So I just wanted to make sure everybody saw what was in the bottom two sentences, where you could be sued into bankruptcy. Thank you.
There's no doubt there a lot of work needs to be done, right? I think your study is a great suggestion, but there is work to be done. But not looking at it and trying to go somewhere, we allow these bigger communities to not be accessible. And now it's like, hey, we're going to be accessible, and we're starting somewhere. As it stands now, I can see there's a lot of challenges, but they could be worked out. And you can double down on the fine print, but that I'm sure would be taken out. It just we've got to not be yes, no. We've got to look all in between.
Thank you. Your mic is on, did you?
Oh, yeah, I just want to express my appreciation for Councilwoman Avila's comments. I think an opposed position is appropriate because of the severity of the way it's written at present, but it doesn't mean we take an opposed position and then we can ask our lobbyists to really talk to the legislators about, maybe converting this to a study, I think it's fair to actually try to assess, where everybody is, particularly the small municipalities and the people that don't have many resources. I think it's good to try to figure out what that actually means. So thank you to Councilwoman Avila's comments.
All right, good discussion. So we do have a motion on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote on this. I think we've discussed it a lot. And so
Does require 2/3 vote to pass for legislative positions, correct?
Correct.
Or- Yes.
Yep.
okay. Alrighty, so all in favor of an opposed position for HB 241168, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Aye. And, okay,
I'm nay.
your name, so it's 2. Okay, so that's a 2/3 vote. Okay, I would just prefer to state and amend. I just think we have a little bit more strength there, but that's okay. Maybe the 2 opposers will get phone calls wanting to know why we didn't support it, right? And we'd have a good discussion with the bill people. All right, let's go on to the next one, please.
Alrighty, and the final bill for consideration, committee was recommending an opposed position to House Bill 241152 accessory dwelling units.
Okay,
I move we take an opposed position on House Bill 241152 accessory dwelling units.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second for oppose. Is there any further deliberation? Seeing none, all in favor of the opposed position, please vote aye.
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 Any opposed of the opposed position?
Abstain.
And an abstain. Okay, thank you. All right, on to the next one. That was it.
The rest
Woo.
is monitoring. Well, do we have to vote on monitoring or do we default to monitoring?
I mean,
Monitoring.
I'll defer to the board of directors. Monitoring is an official position that we report to Secretary of State's office.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and do it. Okay, we have a group of bills, and I'm not going to say 24 in front of all of them. Okay, so we have House Bill 241002, Social Worker Licensure Compact, 1006, Assist Rural Community Wildfire Related Grant Application, House Bill 1012, Front Range Passenger Rail District Efficiency, House Bill 1052, Senior Housing Income Tax Credit, 1055, Child Passenger Safety and Education, 1062, Warrants for Metro Sewage Disposal Districts, 1073, Independent Ethics Commission Jurisdiction, 1083, Construction Professional Insurance Coverage Transparency, 1161, Motor Vehicle Access, Individuals with Disabilities, these are Senate bills now, 009, Local Government Disaster Related Programs, 010, Dentist and Dental Hygienist Compact, Physician 1018, Physician Assist Licensure Compact, 028, Study Biochar in Wildfire Mitigation Efforts, 032, Methods to Increase the Use of Transit, 036, Vulnerable Road User Protection Enterprise, 037, Study Green Infrastructure for Water Quality Management, 044, Public Employees Retirement Association Retiree Refundable Income Tax Credit. Anybody want to take over? 063, Confidentiality of Group Peer Support Services, 065, Mobile Electronic Devices and Motor Vehicle Driving, 079, Motorcycle Lane Filtering and Passing, 100, Commercial Vehicle Highway Safety Measures, 111, Senior Primary Residence Property Tax Reduction. The recommended position on all those bills is monitor. Do we have a motion?
recommend
Karen,
we
could
take-
you repeat those bills?
Sure. How long do you want to be here? Okay,
I
Yes.
have a question.
yes.
I'm just wondering if when the legislative committee meets on, like we're monitoring dental something, will there be an explanation why we're looking at it, how it relates to transportation, environment, and the aging, and that might be it, I don't know the dental plans, but just a blurb, it relates to PPACG under transportation land, under military, under this, that's how,
Okay.
I would really appreciate that.
And those are military, and that's been a big concern about portability of licenses, so they don't have to relicense in the state every time they move.
Okay,
So it's more like a compact thing for trying to just get
that'd be just
keep
really
people
helpful.
employed. Okay, good point. All right, I like that because we do that with a lot of times with our strategic plans. We put what point on the strategic plan it goes to. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Yolanda.
Yep, happy to
All
do
right.
that. Yep.
So the proposed motion from the group, do we have a motion on monitor on all those bills? Please say yes. Somebody, let's go. Come
Yeah.
on.
I'll move that we take a position of monitoring on the group of bills just enumerated by the chair.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further deliberation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have had three members join us since we took the photo, Jared. Would you be opposed to, after we go through the information items, potentially taking another photos so we can maybe get some more people in there who have arrived?
More than okay with that. Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's get through the information items. Okay. We're trying to get everybody in here as much as we can.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Item 6A, Pikes Peak Commission on Aging presentation.
I think Jody and Melissa are going to sort of tee this up, and you're going to hear from members of our Commission on Aging that transitioned over to PPACG in, I believe, 2020 it was, from the city of Colorado Springs. They just wanted to do a check-in and let the board know what they've been up to and what their focus areas are. So yeah, Jody.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board again. Jody Barker, your Area Agency on Aging Director. And as was mentioned, this Pikes Peak Commission on Aging representing all three counties was previously established under the city of Colorado Springs, representing only Colorado Springs. And so we're really excited to have taken this on. It transitioned to us in January of 2021. And presenting for you today is actually Paula Levy. I found a microphone for you. Paula Levy, who is the current chair of the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging, and Dayton Romero, who is past chair and is still volunteering as support to the current board of the Commission on Aging. So come on up and we'll let you all take it from here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jody, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today to share a little bit about what we're doing. As Jody had said, my name is Dayton Romero. I joined the commission last year. Have had the privilege of jumping into the chair seat, just diving straight into the 8-foot deep end of the pool. And in that, we did some strategic planning. We worked really hard last year, getting on the same page, really looking at the information we had in front of us. And so, again, just super excited about sharing about what we're doing and what we had to have ahead of us in these next few years. So with that said, I'll pass it over to Paula to go into our mission and vision. But just to orient you a little bit, we're going to go into mission, vision, history, a little bit of timeline, and then some of our goals and tactics ahead of us. So just to orient around the presentation this morning.
And it is the 2024 presentation, I believe. It says 2023 on the cover sheet.
Despite 8 pairs of eyes looking at this PowerPoint, never fails.
We don't want the.
So our mission and vision statement went through a lot of rehash as we developed it, as did the commission itself. We had a lot of insight and discussion over what our mission and vision statement should be. So our mission statement currently reads, we seek to enrich the lives of our diverse senior community, advocating for effective and beneficial policy and encouraging robust collaboration among service providers for seniors. The vision statement is multifaceted. It reads, we envision every senior supported, honored, valued, and engaged, made evident by their inclusion in our communities. The Pikes Peak Commission on Aging advocates a system-wide policy and legislative level in partnership with the Pikes Peak Area Council of Government Board to improve the lives of older adults and create age-friendly communities. Our work aligns with efforts from the PPACG, Pikes Peak Area Agency of Aging, 4-year plan, innovations in aging, age-friendly campaigns, and the AARP's Livability Index.
Thank you, Paula. And the reason why we pointed out the alignment with those other initiatives like Age Friendly, like the AAA's 4-year plan, is to show that we're cognizant of what else is going on in this space, because nothing is more frustrating than duplicating efforts and wasting energies and resources. So we're really intentional around how we could align and be complementary and amplify each other's efforts. So really excited moving ahead here in the history. It was a huge move, and just want to commend you all for the transition noted there in 2020 on those conversations moving from the city to the under the umbrella of the PPACG. I think it was a massively strategic move. In that we can now look at a little bit broader scope and take into the account what the other communities across the Tri-County are doing, and get insight into some of the aging issues and some of the aging successes in these different communities. So really amazing move. I have the privilege of serving as the board chair of Innovations in Aging and do much other work in the aging space. So whenever I saw this happen from afar, was just so excited that that transition had happened. So moving a little bit ways down the timeline here, the establishment was in 2021, as Jody had mentioned earlier. We hit the ground running last year in our strategic planning. We had a facilitator really ground us, ensuring that the data that we're looking at is reputable, credible, and we're building a strong repository in the information that we're looking at to inform us and help us prioritize some of these goals that we're going to share this morning. So with that, we adopted some of these measures. You have a working document in your materials. So if you see the Y percentages and those sort of things in there, just know that this is a working document that we are referencing internally. In 23, we have a new slate of officers in our new chair with Paula, and and other very, very strong officers tackling other parts of our governance structure. So what is our role and how does it happen? Encouraging collaboration and strategic planning between organizations and individuals with common goals. You'll notice in a lot of these year one parts under these goals, it's about fostering collaboration, really partnering, allying, and establishing relationships with community leaders and those who have real good insights into the aging population in their communities. In terms of the how, these are kind of our actions, right? As a commission on aging, we're outreaching. A lot of our commissioners are kind of on the pulse of what's going on. We communicate, we advocate, we identify those gaps and duplications. That advise the board of directors. That is kind of we're new, right? And so we have to develop that street cred, if you will. We have to really look to be credible resource for you all. So we're really working on developing that credibility as a commission for you all so that you can lean on us whenever an aging issue comes up, as of course Andy and Jody and Melissa do a phenomenal job, but we are there to capacity build and help in that regard as well. In terms of the governance structure here, we have an executive committee, a policy committee. Jared and Jody do an awesome job keeping us apprised of what's going on with the legislative committee that you all were just reviewing. And then we also have the membership committee, who has been super intentional about where our expertise as a commission looks like. We've developed a matrix of saying where are blind spots in terms of who we need at the table to inform our strategies, and where are blind spots in terms of representation across the communities that we're trying to help. I'm going to pass the focus areas to Paula.
So the focus areas that we came up with, and there was lots of discussion, we narrowed down to healthcare, housing and transportation, social engagement, and the caregiver support, which is my expertise. And Dayton's going to talk about accessibility and affordable healthcare first, and then he's going to go into the age-friendly housing and transportation.
Sure. Thank you, Paula. So like I said, what really drove these focus areas was us looking at the CASOA data. Where were those percentages that really need some attention? Because we're looking to move the needle in those areas. So how can we do that? We put some tactics together and some goals together aligned with some of the years, and that timeline there actually aligns with the GSOA survey. It's done every 4 years, and so we're hoping 4 years from now we could see that percentage moved. And so with that, we built in some measures in between so we can measure our progress. But overall, enhancing the accessible and affordable healthcare, you'll see these are very ambitious goals, so bear with us. We're a group of volunteers who are super passionate, but our objective is to foster cost-effective partnerships with healthcare providers to solve the last mile connection problem experienced by some communities. And so those year by years are goals of ours to accomplish by the end. So a lot of these year ones are building relationships and scanning. So really get grounding on information of what's going on in communities and partnering again with communities to understand a little bit better. To establishing a model alongside. Nothing's more frustrating than fitting a round peg in a square hole. So working very closely with some of those solutions, whether it be big or small in that model, collaboration implementation. Goal 2, in creating age-friendly housing and transportation, advocating for age-friendly infrastructure and policies that support aging in place. Again, you see there establishing relationships with leaders in year 1, building education campaigns to demonstrate the value of age-friendly policies. A lot of times what is oversighted I've seen in my experience of 10 years is, what does the voter base of older adults look like? What are the contributions of older adults to economies look like? Kind of putting a little bit better of a shining on those types of things and ensuring that those sort of programs around housing and transportation all include and take into account the aging population. Year 3, facilitating the adoption of policies. This is a dynamic sort of process where we are looking again to be kind of the go-to whenever it comes to potentially testifying at the Capitol. I know we're working with Jody to really figure that cadence out of like, when can we be looked to really amplify any message that this board and the PPACG as a whole wants to support at Capitol Hill. So with that, we're going to move to goal 3 and I'll hand it to Paula.
Goal 3 was strengthening caregiver support and services. And we are creating a caregiver conference for the tri-community area, county area, focused on education and promoting current resources and companies available to help caregivers. Most recently, and for the past several years, there is a senior expo, which is, booths and vendors of people that serve seniors. There is some caregiver support available at those expos, but there is not any specific conference or symposium just for the caregiver. And I've spent my career, I'm on year 36, working with people, caregivers who are living with their loved ones with brain change. And I've done it long enough that I've seen caregivers die before their person. And so caregiver support is so crucial and vital, and it's just growing in our community. So we came up with the idea of doing a caregiver specific symposium to help our caregivers in our community and beyond. So the success is going to be measured by a post-conference survey, and hopefully we'll be able to build on those caregivers. We'll be coming back year after year and saying, yes, I went to the first one and this is what I've learned. And I went to the second one and I'm back for the third one. So we're planning the first one right now. Hopefully it'll be by the end of this year, if not the first part of 2025. We're going to adapt and change the theme based on the first year's survey feedback. And then we'll just keep adapting and changing and making it better and better. It will be an annual event, and hopefully supported by all the communities that we serves and all the counties that we represent. That, like I said, it's my passion. It's what I've focused my whole career on. So I'm very, very important. It's very important to me that this takes off. So
Is
Well-
that symposium going to be available hybrid?
that's a great question. We haven't gotten that far, but that's really an important question actually, because caregivers have a hard time getting away. They don't,
Yeah, or if you have to hire somebody, it's gonna cost you $200.
right, yeah.
It becomes inaccessible.
Right. And so the thought is possibly having an area where they can bring their loved one and there would be activity and going on for their loved one as they are getting education and resources available to them. I've done that before and I'm actually going to help the one-day caregiver conference in April. I'm going to be the person doing the activities while their caregivers get the resources they need. That day is coming up on April 7th. I believe it's a Sunday. So that's a great question.
Okay.
That's a great question. But again, it's hard to do hybrid when the person's in the house and it's hard for the caregiver to have an uninterrupted time without their person walking through or wondering what they're doing. And it's just a hard.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just important to feel like you're part of something,
Absolutely.
even if it is virtual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay,
for that
thank you.
question. Yep. So I lost my paper. This fourth and final goal. that-
Happy to give it a shot. You'd want? Sure. So goal 4, promoting social engagement and inclusion, and doing that by creating a sense of belonging and value by fostering purposeful skill building that leverages a community's unique resources and assets. To me, this is a little bit of a multi-pronged goal in addressing social isolation, which is so prevalent amongst older adults. In fact, I think recently it was declared a public emergency by the World Health Organization, while simultaneously addressing purpose, right? One of the CASOA data points was there not being skill building resources available for older adults. And so how can it doesn't necessarily need to be connected with a job. It could be volunteerism. It could be these types of opportunities. So how can we figure out what those resources and assets are across the communities where people can have those type of opportunities to build purposeful skill building and get involved a little bit more to feel included. Identify those barriers in year 2, whether it be partnerships, just overall flow of information, whatever it may be. And then year 3, creating skill building opportunities and bringing people together. And lastly, just a quick list of all the passionate and talented individuals on our existing commission. We're very, very proud of those who are on this. And the call to action today is to encourage y'all to get involved with the commission, sit in on a meeting. I know you don't have very much spare time, so I'd appreciate even Zooming in or Teamsing in to listen in on what we're talking about, to just develop that relationship a little bit stronger. And then I know we've been working hard on developing kind of the process around appointment to the commission, which Melissa could probably speak to a little bit better. But yeah, appointing someone from your community on the commission would be extravagant because, again, we're doing our best to be as representative of the communities as possible and as representative of the older adult voice as possible. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dayton. So I'm Melissa Martz and I'm the Program Development Administrator for the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. And I appreciate so much these folks and just jumping in and giving this wonderful presentation. I do want to take a moment to just really comment on the expertise and skill and community engagement that is represented on the Commission on Aging, because I think that all of the councils and commissions that are under the PPACG have a lot of talent and really amazing people who volunteer their time really almost every day to support the Council of Governments. But truly, Paula and Dayton, there's other people on this list as well who also have an amazing amount of expertise and engagement in the community. But Dayton, he worked for many years with Silver Key at senior leadership levels. So he brings tremendous knowledge. And right now he works for AARP and is really chairing moving forward most of the initiatives that have to do with technology with AARP across a multi-state region. So we have really amazing talent sitting here. And Paula, I think many of you guys know Paula from previous experiences, let alone the fact that she has really truly dedicated her adult life to supporting caregivers and making the world a better place for older adults and for the people who are caring for them. And so the knowledge and experience standing here today and sitting here today also is tremendous. And really, please, get involved, take a moment to sit in on a Commission on Aging meeting, but you'll be hearing a lot more from this really talented and very, very educated group in the near future. So thank you. And if you have questions, please, a few minutes for questions if we can take them.
Question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Vanderwerth and then Mayor LaKind.
Yes, thank you very much. So first of all, awesome, love it. It's really great. But one thing that I have over the years, being a commissioner for 7 years, have occasionally mentioned this, and I am just noting that I don't see it in here. The number one line of defense for helping seniors is family, and the number two line of defense for helping seniors is neighbors. And then when you don't have family and you don't have neighbors, then you do need to go to the private nonprofits and so forth. And so there's a lot in here about the private nonprofits, but I don't see anything about family. So one of the things that I've always felt that we need to work on more is helping any group, but in this case, this is seniors, right? Get reconnected with their family, because families will figure out a way to solve a problem and do it cost effectively because they're watching their money. But that also produces the social engagement, which is that's what every human needs. So I just don't see the word family in here. And so I'm just going to offer a proposal on goal 4. Just say promoting family, social engagement, and inclusion. Somewhere in here, it needs to be a top line word in the goals, because when you can get a senior connected to a family member, you solve all kinds of problems. You maybe even take them out of the private nonprofit, resource consumption, so they can preserve those dollars for someone else that doesn't have family in town. So I just think it's actually really important to add that word in here.
Appreciate that. And adding family can also cause a lot of problems too, because of the work I've done. And I failed to say there are several caregiver support groups throughout the community where families are involved. And that's a great comment. And we'll look to do that. And maybe at the symposium, we'll have a family section or a family topic for that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I appreciate that comment. There certainly
Yeah.
are dysfunctional families out there. There's no question about that, right?
Yep.
But you don't want to fail to discover that, because if there is a family member nearby, and they're just busy in their lives, maybe there's something we can do to help that family be closer. So I just think like the word family somehow needs to be very prominently in here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, this is directed to Dayton. If you could have someone reach out to me, I'd like to help find you a resource in Northern El Paso County. We have a very large group of retired folks up there that may be in need of your services, but I also have people that are part of Silver Key. And so I'd like to have a conversation, offline to get a better sense of what your needs are up in that part of the county.
Absolutely. And I know Jody and Melissa and this team has been phenomenal. So we'll be sure to get that connection. And I appreciate that opportunity to get someone involved from Monument.
Do you have anybody online? I'm not seeing any hands okay. Councilmember Avila.
Thank you, Chair. So Dayton and Paula, thank you. This is one of the presentations that are pretty uplifting. And I am so appreciative that we have leaders such as yourself doing this good work. And I know you're volunteering, so that's really huge. So Paula, I love the idea of the symposium and bringing the caregivers together and finding a way to do that and actually having, you know, a separate place for the people being cared for to go to be. So it just is really uplifting. All the things that we do are really hard. And what you're doing is difficult too, right? It's challenging. It has its challenges. But I'm just so grateful for people like you two, Melissa, and all the people that do this good work. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, barring any other questions or comments?
Thank you very much. I just want to lend my appreciation to Dayton and Paula and so many of the other members of the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging. They've really taken a hard look at the resources and using the CASOA, which is how we, one of our resources for building out our 4-year plan for the Area Agency on Aging. And the level of experience here and the years of experience, I mean, we probably made 50 years right here just between the two of them. And so their input to this process has been fantastic and really far more than we dreamed of when we went to city council member Gabler almost 4 years ago now to say what could this look like? What could a partnership look like? And by the end of the meeting, she said, you guys are far more well equipped to take this. So we want to move it to PPACG. And so that's been really good. One comment I'd love to share, the idea of the symposium is really exciting because there's not really a whole lot going on in that area. As you know, Area Agency on Aging does host the Caregiver Pampering Day every year. And we do just that for caregivers who may not have the resources or family members to support them being able to leave the home. And we have volunteer agencies who provide that coverage so that caregiver may come to the event and be fully focused and be pampered, just as the title says. So thank you very much for your input today. It sounds like we've got some additional things to work on. So thank you very much, everyone.
And Jody, really quick, we love our acronyms at PPACG. CASOA.
CASOA, Community. It's what's the O? What's the O again? Thank you. Community Assessment Survey of Older Adults. This is actually a statewide project that we engage it with all of the AAAs across the state so that we can have both regional, county, and statewide survey information. And that, like I mentioned, is just one of the areas of the information that we use to build out our 4-year plan. So that survey is a very important part of our process. And I would also add that in the Older Americans Act, it calls for 3 public meetings to develop the 4-year plan. And thanks to Melissa Martz, who was and her team of volunteers and staff, we held 32 public meetings to build out our 4-year plan, and so far exceeded the requirements there. So we and it's almost a year-long process to build that out. So yes.
Mine's just a miscellaneous comment, but you can sometimes get some of that aging survey stuff from the Census Bureau with their community survey they do every year or something.
Yeah, thank you. So that is one of the areas. We actually also have a partnership with the Colorado Demography Office, in which their primary numbers usually are around 55, 65 and that kind of thing, and they consider 65 the aging. However, under the Older Americans Act, it's 60 years and older. And so they actually go through, comb their information, and develop data specifically for for us at the 60-year and over mark. And so those of you who have received the printed copy or have seen the online version of our 4-year plan, that data was specifically modified to represent the 60 and over demographic for this report. So thank you. Yeah. So
Thank you.
we pull a lot of information from a lot of places.
It's available everywhere nowadays, so. All right, thank you very much, and thank you, everybody, for coming today. That was a very good presentation and very informative. Okay, staying on information items, that takes us on to item B, update to board bylaws. Jared.
Good morning, everyone. You get me again. And so this is just an information item. We had a request from several board of directors members to more clarify meeting procedures, specifically around public comment periods. We also had a request from the Colorado Department of Transportation and the Transportation Commission, just requesting some clarifying language in our bylaws regarding representation to the State Transportation Advisory Committee. In that process, we also went through and working with several board members to make sure that if there's, while we're updating bylaws, let's just make sure we update as whatever we can. And so this is only information. This would be proposed to be acted on in March's meeting. We are required to provide a 10-day notice to the board with the final draft once we get to that point. So I'm open to any suggested changes. Andy and I will be happy to accept those and work with members of the board to address anything we need to. In the draft that you received, or in the packet you received, the two main changes are related to meeting procedures and membership. And so we are proposing as staff a standalone meeting procedures document that would make it easier for the board to make any changes to meeting procedures as they happen. And so rather than having to go through and update the bylaws and then having to update bylaws for the rest of our committees, the goal would be that our committees would all reference this meeting procedures document. That document is a brand new document. It is included in your packet. Some of the high level things in there, more clearly defined expectations for remote participation in meetings for members and the public, codifying our public comment process. It outlines, at least it attempts to start the process of what staff will do in case for inclement weather or something else, utility outage, whatever, where this location is not going to be available for a meeting. And then in there is also a code of conduct for members that is taken from the existing board handbook. So there are no changes once you get to that section of the meeting procedures document. And then the other bulk of the changes are under membership. The existing bylaws reference several non-voting categories, and this isn't marked up, but this would be something that we would mark up and bring for your approval in March. Instead of having the different categories for ex officio, honorary, and special, just combine that all into one ex officio category that the board gets to set at the annual meeting or at any other time, but it would be a topic for the annual meeting to set those ex officio members. Those are the two big changes. Other changes I want to highlight in the bylaws, more clearly defined guidelines for closed session participation. It also outlines the requested language to State Transportation Advisory Committee, and also more clearly defines guidelines for issues that are specific to MPO, to metropolitan planning organizations.
Okay, so you got homework.
We got homework. We're asking any feedback no later than March 1st. We would plan to send that out to the board on March 1st to meet our 10-day notice requirement ahead of the March 13th board meeting.
Okay, so you need feedback before March 1st.
We need feedback before March 1st so we can get a relatively clean copy out to everybody.
Yeah, so you need, and that's not very long. So you need feedbacks really by 2 weeks from today at the latest on the 28th.
Yes, and we're not under a hard requirement. So if we get additional feedback, if there's multiple changes after that March 1st deadline,
right,
we'll plan to push it back to April.
Right. I don't know about the rest of you, but I need a deadline. If I don't have a deadline, the next shiny object takes priority. So if everybody could read through them, look through them. I love it when you guys red line stuff for us, highlight for us, bold print, whatever makes it easier to work with. So.
And just
yeah.
to amplify one point, if I could, Madam Chair, Jared touched on the membership changes, and that's not shown in strike-through language quite yet, but we can send that version out after today's meeting. But that's really where I think the biggest change is being made that Jared mentioned. We have ex officio members, which are like our state transportation commissioner, our military liaisons that are on the PPACG board as non-voting members. But then we also had these categories of honorary members, which included all of our state legislative delegation and our federal delegation members. I don't think they knew they were special or honorary members of the PPACG board, and it didn't really come with any other any privileges. So we're suggesting striking that category and also striking the special membership category as well, and just combining all of that into ex officio members that the board would appoint each January at your annual meeting. That was kind of the biggest change. The other, it's cleanup. I mean, we referenced in the meeting procedures the need to stay content neutral if somebody wants to get up and use their 3 minutes in the public comment period. As long as they're not getting out of line, you just let that person ramble, even though it may not be related to PPACG business, especially in this sort of chippy environment that we're dealing with. And you could just remind the speaker that they're being videoed and recorded. And if we needed to take action following the regular meeting, we can do things like that. So we wanted to clarify the meeting input. We didn't get into that level of detail, but just really wanted to address the need to stay content neutral, but put some better parameters around our public comment process, if you will. Those are really the big changes.
All right. Any comments? All right. So hopefully by the 28th, everybody will get a chance to get through it and get those comments to you. And thank you very much. And the bylaws team, I think Commissioner Williams, you were on it, Commissioner Stone.
Commissioner Elsner.
Commissioner Elsner.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you to everybody for taking your time and working on that. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, that takes us on to item B, employee handbook update. Ms. Hoffman.
PPACG's employee handbook, our personnel policies, was last revised in September of 2021, and it was definitely a big overhaul. But there have been numerous changes to federal and state laws, especially in 2023. So we do feel like it's prudent to update the handbook. We did send some changes to the handbook to Employers Council, who sent back their recommendation. But we'd like to get 3 to 4 board members to review updates and make their own recommendations to the handbook itself as well. And we'd like to be able to present the updated handbook to the board in April is our goal. So
Okay, so short-term commitment, maybe 2 meetings.
2 to 3 meetings.
And those
yes.
can be done virtually or in person.
Yes.
Yeah, either way.
I'm okay with either. It's fine.
Okay, so any regular board members, we need 3 voluntold. Okay, Mayor Dixon, thank you. Mayor LaKine, thank you. Anybody? Okay, Commissioner Williams, there's 3. Anybody else? One more voluntold.
We just updated ours at El Paso County, so
Oh, okay.
I get it.
All righty. Do we, Commissioner William, look, Commissioner Stone just walked in. He's voluntolding.
Madam Chair.
Would you like to be on the employee handbook review bylaws committee? Just a very short commitment.
Sure.
Okay,
All right.
there you go.
Did
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
want someone from the Springs?
Oh, we got another one over here. We got, that's great, because sometimes
was
you
a
can't make
question.
every meeting. So we have Councilmember Donaldson voluntolding also. Okay.
That
All
sounds
right.
great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate everybody. Thank you. All righty. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break now, recess for the photo. And we've had 2 or 3 members join us since the last photo. So same positions.
Up here.
Yep. And we got to move my chair out of the way so we can get it and turn. All right, we're almost done, folks. Just hang in there for a few more minutes. All right, we're on to other reports and minutes. So we're going to go ahead with the CDOT. We're going to go ahead with the CDOT monthly update, please.
Madam Chair, thanks, board. I will just go ahead and jump in. First, I'll just gloss through the active construction projects. I will just go ahead and note them, but basically just if you have any questions, obviously the MAMSIP I-25 project is still ongoing. I-25 Fillmore to Garden of the Gods has been kicking off over the last few months, got some work significantly on the west side of I-25 on southbound there. US 24 pedestrian improvements, 8th to 31st Street, a traffic project. Region-wide sign and pavement marking projects, also a traffic project, again, region-wide. So we'll see some stuff here in the Colorado and the Pikes Peak area. And ADA reconstruction at various locations, Fountain, Colorado Springs, and Monument. And we haven't actually seen any real work kick off on that one yet. Near-term construction projects, though, that we will start to see some work as the weather warms up. Probably the earliest one that will kick off will be Baptist Road, Terrazzo Roundabout. Just west of I-25 there off Baptist Road. I-25 resurfacing Midway, that's basically around Pikes Peak International Raceway and south. About 5 miles of I-25 resurfacing there. And US 24 signal replacements. That was a project that failed to successfully award some months back and now has been awarded and should be under construction this summer. As far as near-term advertisements, the 67D north of Woodland Park's about a mile of improvements, some widening, auxiliary lanes and things like that. There in Woodland Park, that's a 10-year capital project. It's under ad. We should have bid openings next Thursday. So we're hopeful on those results will be good. US 24G resurfacing east of Falcon. Mayor Pro Tem, I know you're interested in that. Obviously, we look to advertise that also next Thursday. So that we assuming good bids, we'll hopefully have that under construction this summer. Powers and Airport interchange. I'm actually passing some emails with Shane or text messages with Shane. You know, we're doing everything we can. A couple clearance issues with Peterson Air Force Space Force Base, excuse me, and just some other environmental right-of-way clearances. Just hopefully buttoning things up, and that we're certainly going to try to advertise it here in March, if at all possible. But we probably have to do that with some conditional clearances and things like that. So it's a little bit iffy whether we'll get that advertised in March, but that's certainly the goal Shane has put on my team. US 85 and Carson Boulevard is listed on here. That's for later on in the year to advertise that project, T intersection improvements. And I have one note for likely 2025 construction. I think we've already talked about this at previous ones, but the Colorado 115, basically Nelson Boulevard to Cheyenne Road to around Brookside there, right up close to I-25. That one is pretty definitively kicked till 2025 just for overall funding of our resurfacing program. So for what it's worth, I just sent an email to Scott Harrison, as a matter of fact, this morning, where I kind of described to him how we have basically spent out our FY24 and 25 surface treatment funds, at least if the 24 project is awarded. So we're doing everything we can to get those funds, you know, even about a year ahead into construction. But there's obviously you can't go too many years out ahead, right? So I'll just take any questions.
Mayor LaKine, and then Commissioner Stone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just confirming that the only delay for Baptist and Terrazzo Roundabout is weather. And everything has been awarded and there's no more delays from the various retail establishments holding up right of way and access.
Well, I would have to ask traffic if there's some conditional clearance issue on right of way that's still out there. I'm none that I'm aware of, but the project is awarded. So yes, it will be under construction. I mean, I can't anticipate any, construction delays that could materialize, but right now it's not an issue of awarding the project and getting a contractor. The contractor is on board. I don't know the name of the contractor off the top of my head, but it is awarded and they are going to begin construction here.
Good,
As
because
of other-
we know pilot was a barrier to this at the beginning, and just we're anxious to get this thing resolved.
Yep. No, it's going to go. I mean,
All right, thank you.
it is going,
Commissioner
not
Stone
actively
and,
breaking ground, but
I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner Stone and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Question for you, and I don't want to get ahead of the city of Woodland Park on this at all, but Highway 24 as it exits or enters to the east side of Woodland Park, essentially from Morning Sun Drive all the way up to Woodland Avenue or Fairview when it gets up into there. The speed limits within that area are 55 on the east side as you approach Walmart, which is Morning Sun Drive, and even past that signal all the way up to, I believe, Aspen Garden Drive, where the Safeway is 55. And then it drops to just to 45 up from there. We have had some car pedestrian incidents there, but also the speeds at which people kind of come down the hill and just the angle of views on there. I know that our accident rate is fairly high within there, but there's additional new residential construction that's going on the north side of Highway 24 at Morning Sun Drive that are townhomes, and it's fairly dense residential. So I'm concerned about the overall safety, not only for cars, but also potentially pedestrians moving from that new residential area across the highway to Walmart. And I see residents out there walking. There is a sidewalk out there where they can go, but because the speed limits are so high in there, I just wonder what what would it take to, and again, I don't want to get ahead of the city on this, and I haven't talked to Mayor Pro Tem Case about this, but what would be our process for a review of the speeds within that area that CDOT has on those roads? Or on that road, excuse me.
Eric, I would add one more thing. We are also in the process and just approved initially a new drive-through taco place on one of those commercial pads right at the light on that northeast corner.
Yeah,
in
Morning
front
Sun
of
and 24,
where
yeah,
the
I saw that.
patio homes have been developed, just to add that, because that will add some more pedestrian traffic there as well. Thank you.
And not looking for an answer today, but I did want to raise the issue. To see what that process is to have that reviewed.
I'll pass the buck and just that.
I know it's not your
I mean, my program doesn't have, it's our traffic. It's
Right.
really just coordinating with our traffic, Upper Whitliff in particular, who handles most of the North program area, the 5 counties. So, I mean, that's definitely who I can definitely help facilitate, getting in contact with her. Although I certainly believe with the traffic signal project, I believe your staffs have a line to Pepper, but again, I'm happy to facilitate that.
I think you're right. I think our public works director, city engineer can do that. But I would sure like to support him in that effort.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner
I'm
Stone.
not just playing on my phone. They send a.
No, I
send a
knew
text
exactly
out
what
to
you're
Pepper
doing.
after-
Thank you.
Right after this, so.
Be careful what you wish for. They reviewed ours one time and raised the speed.
I do have 2 other little things that aren't on the slide that I want to bring up too, but first I'll just, any questions on the slides or anything else?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, on the Falcon and resurfacing project to Peyton, is that just resurfacing, or are we going to expand to 4-lane highway, or are we just gonna?
Oh, my gosh, no.
Oh, man, I'm trying to get as much as I can out of it.
No, you see, for us to do
keep-
capacity
you keep
improvements requires this group to approve those types of projects well ahead of time.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to do capacity improvements on that road. Let's get this covered immediately.
And fund it.
Yeah, if it was that easy, right? Yeah.
Well, thank you for your answer, but darn, okay.
You just keep pushing away, eventually you get something, right?
I do just want to mention that number of my staff and even some headquarters, some geotech firms, or geotech folks up in headquarters visited out there on Highway 105 near Palmer Lake there yesterday. They got some very polite passersby, one in particular that made multiple trips to pass by. But we're certainly trying to make use of those funds that this board did approve just a month or so ago, to get analyzing and see if we can, come up with something. And we're trying to just make sure our maintenance, stays on top of monitoring that area as well.
They were so
So-
great that they took pictures and posted on Nextdoor and like
Yeah.
had several comments about the grate and patch done.
Yeah. Well, and then again, we're certainly trying to keep a focus on it and try to find out what the best solution is. If there is, more improvements near term and certainly long term, to try to fix that in a more permanent way. And the other thing I would just mention is the Bridge Enterprise Authority, the Bridge and Tunnel Enterprise has put for funding $31 million in their plan for the J18M, which is US 85 south side of Fountain there, right to the highway, adjacent to that, across the gate 19, right? Charter Oak and all that area. So we're looking forward to, I believe we have a meeting even this week, today with staff, with some of the Fountain staff on that meeting as well. And we're looking forward to, replacing that bridge, having it be,
Yeah, speaking of wish
just a
list,
better
Roland, I would like that one to go from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, please. I mean, if we're throwing our wishes out there, we might as well just,
It won't be that, but I think we have a lot of reasons to make sure that it's wider with shoulders and a lot of other things, both for phasing and other stuff. So we're certainly looking at that, and that'll be some of the discussion today about what is the right width.
I want to express the efforts that you guys actually are doing. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for CDOT? I don't see any hands online. Okay, all right, we will go on to the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee update. Commissioner Williams.
Okay, we had a freight and passenger rail plan overview. That was interesting. Then we also talked about, I guess they're getting ready to do the 2045 statewide plan. Or is it are we up to 2055? Okay, so we had a lessons learned on the 2045. We had, I think the most interesting, well, 2 things I know are going on. Our Transportation Commission Chair, I don't know if she's online or person, if Hannah's online today or not, but she has been working have been working hard with CDOT, discussing the broadband fees, because CDOT has been trying to increase the broadband fees to the point that especially the rural counties cannot handle them. Even a rural county such as El Paso could not handle them. So she's working hard on that policy. And then the other thing we did was last year after House Bill 1110, which tried to realign all of the TPR regions and made a big stink amongst all of the people on the committee. They are trying to do a better job updating us on state transportation legislation. The first thing they did was just refer us to the state legislative website. Well, we know how hard it is to keep track of all the transportation bills there. But then we actually got an update from and I should send it over here to Jared and John, because we actually got an update of the bills that CDOT is pursuing and whether they oppose them or whether they support them. And that was a big response to some complaints by STAC committee members last year. So I was really impressed with CDOT's efforts to do that and appreciate their transparency.
All right. Thank you very much. That takes us to commission and committee vacancies. There's a list. Please go through it and see what your community has needs to fill. And executive director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just 3 items real briefly. Just a reminder that we're going to do a workshop after the meeting today on traffic safety. We've got a really good lineup of folks from Drive Smart Colorado, our jurisdictions, other stakeholders, our consultant who's worked on a variety of different safety causation issues and related matters. So really has some great information to present and want to hear your ideas as well as far as how we can start driving down our really bad numbers out there with serious and fatal crashes. Secondly, I've mentioned this before, but I think we finally have a date for our regional assembly of all the elected officials. We're going to try to get together, and that is Thursday, March 28th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Here, we invited all the city, town, and county commissioners from across our 3-county region. It's about 90 to 95 folks overall to come together, get a chance to meet one another, try to pull together as one region where we can find some commonalities. And we're also going to bring in a guest speaker, Dr. Pam Shockley, retired from UCCS. Her big thing is leadership and trust. And you're not going to be lectured to, but it'll be a good conversation, good presentation by Dr. Shockley, and really looking forward to that. So we're going to send out a save the date and some additional information on that, hopefully later this week. And then finally, just want to mention, you may have noticed some new artwork in our conference room. Actually just went up yesterday, and thank you to Sherry. She lined up a local artist that is going to put some artwork on display in our conference room just to kind of spruce things up a little bit. We connected with him. He's an African-American artist. We were doing this kind of in concert with Black History Month, but then we also realized he's connected with the Pikes Peak Art Network, something like that, Art Coalition. So we're going to keep the good works going and try to rotate out artwork in the conference room every couple of months or so. So yeah, so just excited to be able to kind of spruce things up a little bit. So pending any questions, that's all we've got.
I just find the clock in that location extraordinarily difficult to keep an eye on.
Find a better spot for the clock.
Okay.
Yeah, had to move, but we'll find
Right, I
one.
get it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, thank you. But yes,
Thank you, Madam Chair. All I can say is you, hoorah. Great,
Yeah.
great Marine Corps artwork right there. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't know if you can ever remove the Marine one, and we do need a Falcon 1 month.
well, these are rotating, right? So we're gonna get little tags up there for if you wanted to purchase the picture.
Yes, we're going to get his
Mhm.
contact information. We have it already. We have some business cards if anybody is interested. But yeah, I think our hope is to keep these pieces up for a couple of months and then rotate them out about, every 3 months or so. But we will make a special request for a Falcon. Good
Just-
suggestion.
And we are not getting the money, money would go to
Right.
the artist. This is
Correct.
to give a showcase.
Yep.
Place.
Yep.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm just curious if the commissioner is requesting a blue Falcon. Some of my former military colleagues will understand the joke that's in there.
Yes.
But
I don't know whether or not to say yes or no. I just know
wanna
that
say
I
no. We
represent,
don't want a blue Falcon.
no, I represent the Air Force Academy. So all I want is a Falcon, not a real one. Can't take care of a real one.
Okay, on that note, do we have as item 8, any member entity
I have a
announcements?
question.
Oh,
back
I'm
on-
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine. On the volunteers for the various committee and commission vacancies, are these elected or any volunteer to fill the, I know already spoke to the Commission on Aging, but the Air Quality Technical Committee that Monument shows, are you looking for elected representation or anybody from the community?
Anybody from the community that you think would be a good fit within that committee.
Has a technical background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a hard one to
I'll
fill.
find someone who has no breathing problems.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I know for Fountain, our technical people are usually staff people that man those positions, but if you have somebody in your community that has that expertise, yeah. Okay, member entity announcements. Commissioner Vanderwood, you said you had something going on.
Yes, thank you. What I want to do is for the board here is just give a brief update on El Paso County's visit to Washington, D.C. We do have a lobbyist there, in case you don't know that. And we've got several initiatives that are ongoing. Some of them are very, very relevant to PPACG, but I'll just go through the list here. The first one is pursuing a federal courthouse for the Colorado Springs area. I have spoken with some of you about this. You may or may not know, but we have bipartisan universal support from the delegation for this. And the Department of Justice has now funded an assessment study that would come down here and establish the requirement and the need, which I think is actually straightforward, and it will be established because they had already set aside the requirements for 2 additional Article 3 judges. The idea would be to have, we got a courthouses in Denver, and this would be to put a federal courthouse in the Colorado Springs area, which would benefit all of us here. Second item that we discussed, and we went to all of our delegation, including Congresswoman Pedersen. The second one is Department of Transportation earmarks. This is for funding requests for one of their programs, and the call for applications is not come yet, but we wanted to pre-identify to our delegation what El Paso County will be submitting. One is called the Goldfield Drive Structure Improvements project, and the other one is the South Academy Boulevard Military Access Improvement Project, which is a MAMSIP program. And when the call comes out, El Paso County will be submitting these too. We also mentioned to the delegation, and this is on behalf of the city of Colorado Springs, you do have a Northgate proposal that you all will be sending forward and asking for federal funding. This is for the north side of Peterson Space Force Base, and we just wanted the Colorado delegation to know that El Paso County supports that project. So we made it an official point so that they knew that. Next item we discussed, this is actually an issue that happened to us in El Paso County. You all remember the huge rains we had in the spring. It turned out when we got the FEMA designation and so forth, and were able to actually put a lot of money into that, including federal money, we found out that this region is not designated as a region that can accept projects under the Water Resources Development Act. So we are in the process of pursuing that designation so that we can participate in this federal program. And we do have 2 projects already set up. One is the Windmill Gulch Stormwater Infrastructure Improvements Project, and the other one is the Security Stormwater Infrastructure Improvements Project. The 2 of them together are $35 million. And once we get the designation, we'll submit these 2. There are local match requirements, but El Paso County has the funds to cover the match. So this would be to get those federal dollars and do a lot of stormwater infrastructure improvements in El Paso County. Next quick item, y'all may be well aware of this. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, has not been reauthorized for many years now. So we went to our delegation to tell them we support the reauthorization. That's the federal dollars that come down to local workforce boards. And we have the Pikes Peak Workforce Board that supports Teller and El Paso. And without those federal funds, their work effort gets cut by about 2/3. So the reauthorization is in the House bill, and the Senate has not done its funding bill yet that includes WIOA. But unfortunately, the House bill has a provision in there asking all of the workforce boards that have local employees to have those employees converted to state employees. So there's not a single workforce board in Colorado, nor the state has an interest in these employees being rolled up into state employees. We want them to stay where they are. They do a great job right where they are. So we were talking to our Senate delegation and asking them to write when they do their bill to not include that, and then that will go to conference and they'll negotiate it out in conference between the House and the Senate. The other thing that we asked our delegation to do is to support the 100% R&D tax credit. There is a provision in a House bill to reduce that to 20%. We have a lot of businesses here that work in heavy R&D environments, and the 100% R&D tax credit is important to the community. So we told our delegation that we support that. Next item is the PFAS and PFOA, which is important to the Fountain region. You may know this, but while we were out in DC last week, the EPA just lowered the standard and made it formal. So This is a huge issue for us, but when we talked to the delegation, what we did is specifically is we wanted them to know that we deeply appreciate the Air Force for providing the funding for the filters for Fountain. And we were asking to make sure that the funding continues to go to the Air Force so that they can continue to provide those filters. But we also talked about the fact that we really need other technologies that can maybe permanently remove PFAS and PFOA from the environment, because we do have some contaminated lakes that can no longer be used for fishing and things like that. They've been closed. I wanted to mention this to you, Andy, because the Representative Pedersen's staff took specific interest in this item. And then we talked extensively about this coalition that we're building with the other Western states. I'm sorry. My apologies. The one with Pedersen was the ozone one. The ozone one is the one that got lowered. So I forgot to mention that. So the EPA number got lowered, and this is the one we were talking to everybody about. So Pedersen took strong interest in the ozone and the partnership that we're building. They would like an additional presentation on that, and the best person I think for that would be you, Andy, or someone here on the staff. So you can give Ryan Parcell a call, and we want to make sure that we give Congresswoman Pedersen's staff a presentation on that, and they're specifically interested in the partnership. They also agree, Pedersen's staff agrees about the separation of being held accountable for the local pollution, but not being held accountable for background radiation or background pollution. So they're in support of that. And they thought the delegation was really interesting. I think they might actually have an interest in joining that delegation. So we need to have that conversation. And then the last item we discussed, we went over to the Forest Service and talked to them about some of the challenges we have with the Pike National Forest. First, to express our appreciation that they're doing a lot of fire risk mitigation, which we helped them get funded. But then you all may remember last fall, they said they were so busy with fire mitigation that they were not going to build any more trails. And that became a real issue for the community here. But my understanding is they have now reversed that decision, and they're re-including trail and access development back into their programs. So we wanted to talk to the Forest Service about a little bit more about that. So that's all that we did. But I wanted you all to be aware about some of the work El Paso County does at the federal level on behalf of the community here. So thank you.
Sounds like a busy week.
It was.
Well, thank you for doing that. All right. Any other member entity? Yes.
Yeah. Earlier this week, we had a gentleman who evidently installed septic systems who is also supposedly involved with Regulation 43 revision out of CDB, the Department of Health and Energy. And he was informing us that what's being drafted now on this regulation basically would make it so that if you have a cesspool, you have to take it out whether it's failed or not. And so he was really concerned, and he's going up and down to his customers up in Ute Pass to basically say, hey, if this passes, you're going to have to spend anywhere from 40 grand to $250,000 to replace your cesspool. And, because right now the situation is if it fails, then you got to pony up to the latest and greatest standards. But it sounds like they're basically saying if you have one, you have to replace it. And up and down Ute Pass where we're at, that's, I'm going to guess, probably 70 to 80% of the systems are actually cesspools that were done probably back in the 30s. I am coordinating with Brandon out of El Paso County. We're trying to see, one, we got to make sure that this gentleman actually understood things correctly, and that is what is in fact happening. And if it is, I'll probably be trying to get engaged in Regulation 43.
If I could provide just some comments to that. So I just want to make sure I understand, is that's a rulemaking change on a regulation from CDPHE? Is that CDPHE?
I think it's
Okay.
Reg 43, and my understanding is they're drafting a revision to Reg 43 that would again, up to standard where if you have a cesspool, you just have to replace it.
Okay, so the reason why I want to bring that up is you may be well aware of this, but I am the voting member on CDPHE representing Congressional District 5. So I'd be interested in learning more about that and being better informed about what the challenges are there. Often CDPHE just simply responds to legislation and then tries to provide an implementing rule for legislation. So the key to this is whether that was directed by the legislature and then CDPHE is trying to accommodate that, or if it's something they're doing independently.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know that, but Brandon is engaged.
Okay.
So
and one thing to just let you know, they if whenever they do a rulemaking, they do a they usually spend 6 or 9 months on the building the rulemaking, and they have a stakeholdering process and they try to get everybody involved and engaged. So if it is a rulemaking hearing, there should be a stakeholdering process, and then we want to make sure that this gentleman either is in that stakeholdering process himself or has an appropriate representative representing him in that stakeholdering process. So
he told us he's a part of it,
okay.
but we haven't been able to verify anything. But it is extremely concerning if the state's looking at just coming out and saying, okay, if you have this type of wastewater system, now you got to replace it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. The things you get to know so much about when you're an elected official, huh? All right. Anybody have anything fun going on in their community they want to announce? End on a happy note. Ice festival or something. Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as an update with this wonderful cold weather that we continue to have, the ice castles are going gangbusters. If you haven't been up to Cripple Creek to enjoy that attraction yet, it's really pretty cool. Also, for those who are unaware, the Chamonix Casino Hotel Resort has now opened, and it's the third largest hotel in the Pikes Peak region, I believe. And so they are open for business. It's beautiful. And so not only can you go up and see the ice castles, you can also stay overnight and not have to try to work those winter roads at night coming back. So they are open. And also the ice festival in Cripple Creek. Not that there's not enough ice already in Cripple Creek, but the ice festival is starting this weekend, and I believe runs for 2 weeks. So kind of 3 weekends total. And that's a pretty cool event also. And that's the thing that's cool about that one is it's kind of progressive. So as that 2 weeks goes on, there's more and more sculptures that are created during that. And so I just want to invite everybody to go out to that and spread the word about it, because Cripple Creek, I think, is finally back from the pandemic. Got a lot of great events going up there now, and we just need to support them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Eric, did you say ice castles? Did you say that up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, ice castle. Do you need an ADU permit for those? No.
I do not.
All
I
right.
do not know. I haven't heard any complaints yet, but it's
Okay.
it's attractive.
But I do have one announcement. Colorado Springs City Council yesterday passed a resolution stating we are not a sanctuary city. We're not going to become a sanctuary city. We won't spend money, taxpayer dollars, on addressing that issue, supporting illegal immigrants. And we also called on the federal government to do their job and control the southern border. And we also said we stand in solidarity with other communities that are suffering the impacts from the federal government's neglect of that.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other member entity announcements? Next meeting, Andy, is
Oh my gosh, March 13th?
okay.
Yeah, okay.
All righty. Okay. Nothing else. This meeting is adjourned, and I'm hoping, so we'll take about a 10-minute break and then get started on the traffic safety workshop. That will be hybrid also for people on, that's a question.
Yeah, we'll keep the Zoom going, the Teams link, same one. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.